Robert Louis Stevenson. Treasure Island. Chapter 24. The Cruise of the Coracle. It was full day when I woke up. I found myself moving on the sea at the southwest end of Treasure Island. The sun was up, but I could not see it. It was hidden behind the large spyglass hill. On this side, the hill went down almost to the sea in steep cliffs. Haulbowline Head and Mizzenmast Hill were very close to me. The hill was bare and dark. The head was surrounded by cliffs 40 or 50 feet high, with big fallen rocks below. I was less than a quarter of a mile from the shore. My first idea was to paddle to land. I soon gave up that idea. Among the rocks, the waves crashed and roared. Loud sounds echoed again and again. Heavy spray flew up and fell down every second. I saw that if I went closer, I would be thrown against the rocks and die. Or I would lose all my strength trying to climb the steep cliffs. And that was not all. I saw large, wet creatures on the flat rocks. Some lay together. Others dropped into the sea with loud sounds. They looked like huge, soft snails. There were many of them, maybe 40 or 60. Their barking sounds made the rocks echo. Later, I learned that they were sea lions, and they were harmless. But they looked frightening. Together with the dangerous shore and the strong waves, it was enough to stop me. I preferred to stay at sea, even if I had to starve, rather than face such dangers. At the same time, I thought I had a better chance somewhere else. North of Haulbowline Head, the land goes far inward. At low tide, there is a long stretch of yellow sand. North of that, there is another cape. It was called Cape of the Woods on the map. It was covered with tall green pine trees that reached down to the sea. I remembered what Silver had said about the current. It flows north along the whole west coast of Treasure Island. From where I was, I could see that I was already in this current. So I decided to leave Haulbowline Head behind me. I wanted to save my strength to try to land at the nicer-looking Cape of the Woods. The sea had large, smooth waves. The wind blew gently and steadily from the south. There was no conflict between the wind and the current. The waves rose and fell smoothly. If it had been different, I would have died long ago. But as it was, it is surprising how easily my small and light boat stayed safe on the water. I often lay at the bottom of the boat and only kept my eyes above the side. Then I would see a big blue wave rise close above me. But the coracle only jumped a little, moved like it was on springs, and then went down the other side of the wave as lightly as a bird. I soon became a bit braver. I sat up and tried to paddle. But even a small change in weight can cause big changes in how a coracle moves. I had hardly moved when the boat stopped its gentle motion. It suddenly went straight down a steep wave. It was so steep that I felt dizzy. Then the front of the boat hit the next wave and sent up a splash of water. I was wet and very afraid. I quickly lay back in my old position. Then the coracle seemed to find its balance again. It carried me gently among the waves as before. It was clear that I must not interfere with it. And since I could not control where it went, I wondered how I could ever reach land. I became very frightened, but I still stayed calm. First, I moved carefully and slowly poured water out of the coracle with my sea cap. Then I raised my eyes above the side again. I began to watch how the boat moved so smoothly through the waves. I saw that each wave was not just a big smooth hill. It was more like hills on land, with peaks, flat places, and valleys. The coracle, when left alone, turned from side to side. It found its way through the lower parts. It avoided the steep sides and the high tops of the waves. Well now, I thought to myself, it is clear that I must lie still and not change the balance. But I can still put the paddle in the water and sometimes push a little toward land. As soon as I thought this, I did it. I lay on my elbows in a very uncomfortable position. From time to time, I made a few weak strokes to turn the boat toward the shore. It was very tiring and slow work, but I could see that I was getting closer. As I came near the Cape of the Woods, I saw that I would miss that point. But I had still moved some distance to the east. I was now quite close to land. I could see the green tops of the trees moving in the wind. I felt sure that I would reach the next point of land. It was just in time, because I was starting to suffer from thirst. The heat of the sun above me, the light shining from the waves, and the seawater drying on my skin made things worse. Salt covered my lips, my throat burned, and my head hurt. Seeing the trees so close made me almost sick with desire. But the current carried me past the point. When the next part of the sea opened before me, I saw something that changed my thoughts completely. Right in front of me, less than half a mile away, I saw the Hispaniola sailing. I thought at once that they would catch me, but I was so thirsty that I did not know if I should be happy or afraid. Before I could decide, I was so surprised that I could only stare and wonder. The Hispaniola was sailing with her mainsail and 2 jibs. The white sails shone in the sun like snow or silver. When I first saw her, all her sails were full. She was moving toward the northwest. I thought the men on board were sailing around the island to go back to the anchorage. Soon she began to turn more and more to the west. I thought they had seen me and were coming after me. But then she turned straight into the wind, lost her speed, and stopped. Her sails shook in the wind. "Clumsy fellows," said I. "They must still be drunk as owls." And I thought how Captain Smollett would have made them work properly. Then the schooner slowly turned away again and filled her sails on another course. She sailed fast for a short time, and then once more turned into the wind and stopped. This happened again and again. Back and forth, up and down, north, south, east, and west. The Hispaniola moved in sudden turns and short runs. Each time it ended the same way, with the sails flapping in the wind. It became clear to me that no one was steering the ship. And if so, where were the men? I thought they were either very drunk or had left the ship. Maybe, if I could get on board, I could take the ship back to the captain. The current was carrying both my coracle and the schooner south at the same speed. As for the ship, it moved in a wild and uneven way. Each time it stopped for a long moment in the wind, so it did not really get ahead. It might even have been losing ground. If I dared to sit up and paddle, I was sure I could catch up with her. The idea felt like an adventure, and it gave me courage. The thought of the water barrel near the front of the ship made me even braver. I sat up. At once I was hit by another wave of spray, but this time I did not stop. I used all my strength and care to paddle after the Hispaniola, which had no one steering it. Once a big wave filled my boat, and I had to stop and empty it, my heart beating fast like a bird. But little by little I learned how to do it. I guided my coracle through the waves. Only sometimes did the front of the boat hit a wave or splash foam into my face. Now I was getting closer to the schooner quickly. I could see the metal on the tiller shining as it moved back and forth. Still, I saw no one on the deck. I could only think that the ship was empty. If not, then the men were lying drunk below. In that case, I might be able to lock them in and take control of the ship. For some time, the ship had been doing the worst thing for me. It was almost standing still. It pointed nearly south and moved from side to side. Each time it turned, the sails filled a little. Then they pushed it back into the wind again. I say this was the worst thing for me, because even though it looked helpless, it was still moving away from me. The sails cracked loudly like guns, and the ropes and blocks hit the deck. But the ship still moved away, not only with the current, but also because the wind pushed it sideways. But now, at last, I had my chance. The wind became very weak for a few seconds. The current slowly turned the Hispaniola. She turned around slowly, and at last showed me her back. The cabin window was still open, and the lamp over the table was still burning, even in the daylight. The mainsail hung down like a flag. The ship was not moving, except with the current. For a short time before this, I had even fallen behind. But now I used all my strength again and started to catch up with her once more. I was less than 100 yards from her when the wind suddenly came back. She filled her sails on the left side and moved off again, fast and smooth, like a swallow. At first I felt despair, but then I suddenly felt hope. She turned around again until she was sideways to me. Then she kept turning. She had already crossed half the distance between us, then 2/3, then almost all of it. I could see the white water under her front. From my low place in the coracle, she looked very tall. Then, suddenly, I understood. I had almost no time to think or act to save myself. I was on top of a wave when the schooner came down the next wave toward me. The bowsprit was over my head. I jumped up and leaped, pushing the coracle under the water. With one hand I caught the jib boom. My foot got stuck between the ropes. I held on, breathing hard. Then I felt a heavy blow. The schooner had hit the coracle and destroyed it. I was now left with no way back, hanging on the Hispaniola.